Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Legacy European Tour. We are here in Europe at the Regional Championships, where we've got 929 of the best players in Europe all battling out. I'm Will Hall, better known as Will Hall Experience, and I'm losing my voice, so I apologize. And this man sat next to me, that's Hall of Famer Martin User. And we're going to bring you round number 7 of Modern Action. We've had 6 rounds leading up to this, 2 more after this round before we get to that cut off point where anybody with an X and 3 record. So let's get that slide up. Let's see what everybody's main goal today is. Of course, it is to get to day number 2. And how they achieve that? Well, they have to get 6 wins, or at least 18 points to get into day number 2. If they're able to achieve that, they can then battle out tomorrow in 6 more rounds of Modern Action before potentially, and hopefully for them, get themselves either into the top 24 slots, whether it get themselves a Pro Tour invite, or even better, into that top 8 to give them the shot at getting into the final 2 so they can get themselves a World Championship invite in Las Vegas at the end of the year. On that one, we have got some spicy decks still doing well in the tournament, and luckily for us, they've been paired together. So let's move down to our feature match table, where we have got Calibrated Blast versus Dredge. I'll say it one more time. Calibrated Blast versus old school Dredge, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got a few, champions out there in the field battling it out, and we're off to the races. Calibrated Blast on the play. Going to start with a retro boarded Blood Crypt. Love to see it. My voice, if I stop talking, chat, it's because I'm getting sips of water in between. I'm trying to look after my voice because we've got a whole day of casting tomorrow to come as well.
Okay, let me introduce you the 2 decks here. So Calibrated Blast, you're probably thinking, I don't even know what this card does. So let me put that card on the stream. Calibrated Blast real quick. This is a mix of a zoo deck, sort of mixed with some Reanimator package and a bunch of mid-range stuff. There's Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which is like the ultimate mid-range card. There is a Leyline Binding, which is one of the best removal spells. Lightning Bolt, obviously. There's also Persist in combination with cards like Shadow of Mortality, which is a 15-mana card in combination with Calibrated Blast. There is a Scion of Draco, which is a 12-mana card. There's a Territorial Kavu, which is just a big creature to have early on in the game. There is a Trumpeting Carnosaur, a 6-mana 7/6 that has Discover 5. There's a Troll of Khazad-dûm and a Sheoldred the Apocalypse. On the other side, we have, as you mentioned, the old school Dredge deck. Golgari Thug, Narcomoeba, Stinkweed Imp, Ox of Agonas, and the usual suspects like Prized Amalgam, Cathartic Reunion, Creeping Chill. There's even Tome Scour, Mill Yourself for 5, Darkblast, Conflagrate, Otherworldly Gaze. So this looks like Dredge from 10 years ago that doesn't have Fateless Looting. But hey, these players are, I believe, 5-1 right now.
You know, Sodak's been pretty good at getting Dredge in multiple formats in multiple years. This is probably one of his more recent iterations of the deck, and doing well, playing a 5-1 record so far. But this can be super explosive, right? Turn 2, it can get something crazy like 18 power plus on the battlefield.
And something you mentioned earlier is that we're playing with open deck lists. So a combo deck like Dredge knows exactly how to sideboard for games 2 and 3 because you get to see your opponent's sideboard. So you don't have to blindly put in cards that deal with your opponent's possible Leyline of the Void, Tormod script, you know, whatever they may have. You get to actually see their sideboard and sideboard yourself based on that. So that's a pretty big advantage for the combo players here.
And I think that's what we're going to see, just back and forth combo after combo. And here it comes.
That's a lot of Narcomoebas, by the way. One, two, 3 Narcomoebas coming in.
You don't normally want them all in one go. You kind of want them in like drips and drabs to get a lot more triggers so you can get these Prized Amalgams back from the graveyard. But that's not a bad turn, right? How much power is that? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. It's like, what, 9, 10 power on the battlefield? Turn 2, you take that. I wonder if Dredge is really like good in the meta now. Now, like we got the red, black, and Vogue decks kind of falling off. Leylines at probably one of the lowest points it's been in a while. Maybe this is just the time for it to turn up, especially if people are bringing things like Murktide, bringing things Amulet Titan, Yawgmoth, all these sort of decks.
Yeah, I think right now most people play Team Rhinos when it comes to the Cascade decks. There's not that many living end decks, so mostly the way to try to hate on those decks is with Chalice of the Void. And yeah, Graveyard is not targeted as much at the moment. So you're right that Graveyard decks could certainly be the right time right now to play them.
Over on the other side, we're going to go Swamp Cycling. Go get yourself a Godless Shrine. I'm hanging in there, chat. I'm hanging in there. Don't you worry. Take more than this to stop me. I kind of got that, when Phoebe from Friends gets, like, ill and she gets that really sexy voice. In my head, that's what's happening right now. So my voice is just sounding really sexy.
Okay, Phoebe.
More importantly, back to the magic. Goblin Shrine going to come in. Wrong. Yeah, Goblin Shrine is going to come and play untap. That's going to cost us 2 life points.
So this calibrated blast deck, I think we saw it at LMS Sophia, I think. I think we had a player almost make the top 8 with it. It was a slightly different version, but pretty much the same base of the deck. I believe it comes from Aspiring Spike. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it is a deck that I think does a lot better in closed deck lists when the opponent has absolutely no idea what's coming or how to even sideboard against something like that. They may be thinking, yeah, this is like a zoo deck with some awkward cards without really knowing what's going on. Now with open deck lists, it's a little bit different. We have a Raul, who's able to just take the first 3 minutes of the match and study the list, so he knows what's up. The question is if he was even able to actually look through all the cards in those 3 minutes, because I wouldn't know what Calibrated Blast is if I wasn't on coverage duty last time we had the deck on stream.
No, so one of my good friends and actually plays this deck quite a lot, but plays the more all-in combo version where you can like with Emrakuls and you basically just do 15 damage every time. So it's your opponent's going to get themselves down pretty low with Shocklands, and then you can kind of one-shot them with Calibrated Blast. But yeah, I say this one is a very much more mid-rangey, reanimate type list. It's got the Calibrated Blast kicker in it. We're dredging a little bit more here. I think we're going to have a shuffle. Let's have a little look, see what's going to be going on here. I don't even know like how to sign this up, like who would be favored in this matchup. It's so awkward to do. Like I feel like Dredge can go underneath them. But then on the other side, they've got really good cards. Of course, Kavu has got the side effect that he can actually exile cards when it attacks from the graveyard, but Dredge normally, once he puts in them, gets the cards it wants out of it pretty quickly. And we're seeing that Conflagrate going to the bin.
I was just going through all my cards, and I kept finding a lot of decks from back in the days, and one of those decks was Dredge. And I actually went through the deck. I'm like, yeah, Conflagrate. Nobody plays that anymore. This is not a card that I'm ever going to use again. Well, what did I know? Looks like it's back on the menu.
Yeah, one time only. Back for this weekend at the regional championships here in Europe. Wonder if it's worth firing off now. How many cards have we got in hand? 4. Yeah, so can't really do too much with it with a 5/5 cavalry on the other side. But it's not a 5/5 cavalry. We're missing islands, swamp, mountain, plains. Yeah, it's a 4/4. We could actually get that cavalry off the other side of the battlefield with the calibrated with the Conflagrate.
I also miss Infect. That is a deck that I also really enjoy playing.
It's you're a man after my own heart. Like everybody knows that's the one deck I want to see brought back. I don't know what would need to be printed for that to happen. Legolas Resolve in Modern would be pretty nice. It would give us a good shot. I suppose we've got Toxic in Standard at the minute. That's the closest we can get to getting our poison counters across.
So Raul pretty much all in on his board right now with no cards in hand. He does have a lot of Dredge cards in the graveyard, though.
Yeah, but I say that it means nothing that they got no cards in hand, right? It is cool. My graveyard is my hand. This is going to do the game plan that I want to achieve.
And if you're wondering, how does this calibrated Blast deck end up, putting this Shadow of Mortality or Scion of Draco on top of their deck? Because there isn't anything in their non-land cards. They're actually using Witch's Cottage. Let me put that on the card viewer real quick. Which is a land that lets you put a card from a creature card, I believe, from your graveyard on the top of your deck. So you can use something like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, discard the big card, put it in the graveyard, then bring it back on top, and then use Calibrated Blast.
Well, we're just going to play Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And here we go, dredging on the other side. Dredge 5. Creeping Chill. That's going to trigger. That's going to do a Lightning Helix effect, gaining 3 life, dealing 3 damage.
That is very close to lethal as well.
Well, with 4 flyers coming across, this is going to drop them to 1 and they have to chum block.
All right, so does Dylan have it?
Well, you got to think there's going to be enough dredges. We can just go play the Ox back from the graveyard, discard our hand, draw 3 cards, which is basically 15, and all we're looking for is 1 more Creeping Chill.
Okay.
I'm not even sure there's 15 cards left in the deck, so there's a good chance of us hitting that Creeping Chill. Here it comes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Stinkweed Imps in the graveyard, so pretty easy to mill 15. There it is.
1, 2.
All right, that's a miss. There it is. All right, so wait, that was game number 1, I think.
Yeah,
that was the first
it's
game.
the awkward game 1 handshake. It's like,
yes.
oh yeah, GG's. They're getting excited, on camera, potentially maybe for the first time. A lot of nerves going to effect, plus a lot on the line this weekend. Let's see if we can get the deck list up on the screen for you all, because it is an open deck list tournament after all. This is the Dredge list. Talk me through it. What do you like bringing in at the sideboard here?
Well, yeah, nice to put me on the spot like that.
I can't talk.
In a matchup that nobody's ever played before. So yeah, let's say you just throw me, in the match with this deck, and I just finished game 1. So what am I thinking? First of all, I have to go back to look at my opponent's deck, because I have to, exactly figure out what they're doing. Are they a combo deck? Are they a mid-range deck? Like, what are they trying to do? They certainly have some aggressive elements with the Territorial Cover, for example. So I would be looking at the discard spells. I want to get their combo pieces in the graveyard rather than wait for them to 15 me. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, well, I'm running 4 Creeping Chills in my deck, and I'm going to be milling myself pretty easily. Maybe I can just ignore that part of the combo, because if I just gain 6 life, I'm at 26. I'm not taking that much damage from my lands, so there's a good chance that I just don't care about the combo. So Leyline of Sanctity, I would only bring that in if my opponent has a lot of ways to target me and do something crazy to my graveyard, which I'm not sure if...
Well, Calibrate Blast, right? That's probably the only thing.
Yeah, but maybe I can actually just ignore that. So... not Chalice, not Portable Hole. I don't think you can bring in Lightning Axe. Seeing the Kavu just as an early big creature and the Scion. So maybe the Lightning Axe, maybe Wear and Tear, depending on what exactly does the opponent have in the sideboard against my graveyard.
Well, on that one, let's have a look at what they do have in the sideboard, and you're going to notice there's a lack of graveyard hate. Just 2 Double Goldwalkers.
Yeah, there is no Leyline. No Tormod script or anything like that. No Relic of Progenitus. So, yeah, I would be feeling pretty good about my chances, knowing that my opponent has actually no way to stop me from dredging and milling my deck over. So, yeah, I mean, maybe the discard if you really want to. But looks like this is a matchup where maybe you don't even really have to sideboard.
Well, we'll see how it plans out for both of our players. Let's go back down to the match, see how they're getting on with shuffling up. As we move into game number 2, looks like they're still halfway through, because remember, they get to look at each other's sideboards during the matches. I think they get an extra 3 minutes to do this over the whole round. So rounds are 53 minutes. So they get before each game. So if even it goes to game 3, they'll get to look at each other's deck list, look at the full 75, to kind of know, are some of these cards better on the play, better on the draw? How am I going to counter that with my sideboard and kind of get into that mindset, that sort of back and forth chess of the mind? Because once you shuffle up and you present your deck, you can't change it anymore.
One card I was looking at is Stranded Magistrate. Your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands, so you're not going to be able to. Wait, is it actually cast Ox of Agonas? Maybe that's an ability. So this is a card I would be looking at. If it lines up well against what they're doing, if it's the ability of the card, then obviously that's a little bit of a different story. And I think we also had a Doughty Voidwalker in the sideboard, which is pretty good against someone who's trying to fill their graveyard with cards. So at least 2 cards to possibly look at. I think Creeping Chill also has an ability. It's not that you play it.
So, question: you got these are your only real answers to Dredge. How heavily are you willing to mulligan down to find these?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot. If we saw game 1 that Dylan basically had no chance.
Mm-hmm.
Raul was able to just execute his own game plan without any problems, and if that happens, if both players execute their game plan, I think Raul just wins very easily. So yeah, I think I would be willing to mulligan a lot, trying to find the Voidwalker.
So on Raul's side, he's over the moon looking at the sideboards, going, "Whoa, you don't really have anything against me. This is great. I don't even need to sideboard too much. Maybe you, as I say, bring in a little bit of removal in case a Delphi hits the battlefield. But other than that, everything's got to be feeling pretty good. As it looks like both players are finishing their sideboarding, shuffling up. We're getting into game number 2. Round number 7 here of 9 today. We're back tomorrow for another 6 rounds. And then we cut to the top, finish doing the power shuffling. Nope, we're still more shuffling. Welcome to Modern, ladies and gentlemen. If you've not watched Modern before, this is basically all we do. We just shuffle our decks over and over again. We got rid of Yorion for this reason, and still can't get away from it. But I understand with Dredge, it's got a lot of key cards. It uses its graveyard a lot, so it does clump together a lot of its like 3s and 4s in the deck, so it does need a good shuffle. Now look at our opening hand. I see a couple of lands. I see Discarder. We're just looking for a Dredger now. If we can find a Dredger, I think this will be a key. I think that might have been a Stinkweed as the last card there. Kind of the perfect 6 if it is. So I don't know which one we're going to put to the bottom. One of the lands. And then Gemstone Cavern, ditching Gemstone Cavern on turn 0. You now may take your turn.
Yeah, this might be one of the best decks for Gemstone Cavern because you don't really mind, getting some of those cards from your hand, like Narcomoeba if you draw it in your hand, or Creeping Chill. You're perfectly fine ditching that to get an extra land into play.
We're going to Otherworldly Gaze. Of course, instant speed. Look at the top 3. Fit any of them back on top of your deck or in your graveyard. We decided to put 2 lands into our graveyard. Keep 1 card on top. And just pass turn back. And a little look, see what that could mean. If there's any instance that we could play. Doesn't look like there is. Besides a few more of these Otherworldly Gazes. Triumph fetched up end of turn. More shuffling. And draw step. What did we find? Looks like a land. Shocking this Blood Crypt. And Delphi Voidwalker out the sideboard. That is key to what we're trying to find here. In response, we're going to use the Otherworldly Gaze in the graveyard. So if we do put more cards in our graveyard, they're not going to get exiled underneath Delphi Voidwalker. I imagine we're probably looking for some sort of removal spell here. And they would only be in the main if they if we sideboarded them in, and I'm looking at what they could be, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of lightning axes. I mean, you can use...
Not in the... All they've got is pullable holes. I suppose Rapid Hybridization.
Wait, I would swear we're looking at Lightning Axe when we had the deck on the stream. Like, I'm 1,000,000%. I'm not a million, but I'm a
Maybe we got the
very
bottom
sure that Lightning Axes were in the. I think there was an issue with Melee though, showing something different in the deck image.
Yeah,
than...
maybe that was it. What was happened basically? 'Cause the one I've got up here in front of me is Rapid Hybridization or Portable Hole, but we'll come cross that bridge when we come to it if it works. Looks like over on the other side, coming down, we've got a Badger Straight hitting the battlefield. That's going to stop Oxes coming back out the graveyard. So that's like almost step one. Yeah, Rapid Hybridization in the graveyard. So I think the list we've got in front of us is correct, not the one that we had on the screen. So apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're kind of in the tank a little bit, it looks. Am I missing something? How did the Delphi Voidwalker, do we sacrifice it? Oh, okay. We Rapid Hybridizationed the Delphi to get it off the battlefield, creating the 3/3, which we now see. I'm pretty sure we don't have 3/3 frogs, is it? Yeah, green frog lizard tokens out in our feature match area. There's, again, another card I didn't think I'd be saying out loud this weekend.
So Dredge Magistrate is good, but not as good because it doesn't stop like Narcomoeba coming into play or Crippling Chill being played or not played because it's an ability of the card. If the card gets milled, you just put a trigger on the stack that says that you can exile it and lightning helix the opponent. So it's a good card, but it doesn't stop everything from the Dredge deck.
So we're now returning the Delphi from the graveyard. Going to be doing that by using the, oh my word, I can't. The Persist, that's the one. Getting it back from the graveyard with a -1/-1 counter. Turning it into a 2/1, but more importantly, it is the other ability where everything is exiled. And that's enough for us to be able to just scoop this up, saying, I cannot beat that card. Now it's back on the battlefield. I've kind of used my one shot. Let's go to game 3. I'm on the play. I feel favored. I'm seeing a little bit of maybe de-sideboarding here, as we're going to be going into game number 3. So let's try and remind you. Let's get the deck list up on the screen. See if it's the right one or not. Yeah, see, this one does have. Okay, so it's got lightning axes over
the hybridization, which I think is a melee bug. I know we encountered that in some earlier rounds, and then they were fixing it. So I don't think there is anything else going. We have judges that are going to make sure that everything is correct, but I do believe it is a melee image issue.
Same. So play draw dependent. I don't even think too much really comes in. We've seen the rapid hybridizations come in as a way of getting off Delphi because they know that's the only graveyard interaction. Other than that, I guess some caverns probably come out, which we've got boarded in because now we're on the play. I wouldn't mix up too much more. Maybe swap the extra caverns for some hand disruption. We'll see how that pans out. Let's have a little look at the other list. Remind everybody at home what's going on in this. So we go down as Calibrated Blast because obviously it does have Calibrated Blast in it, but it's not the traditional all-in combo. It definitely does have this sort of domain reanimate type feel to it because obviously we've got 2 drops like Kavu into a Fable, into a Shield Dread. Seems pretty good to me, as well as having a Calibrated Blast Witch's Cottage to try and get back potentially a big shot. Something like if we manage to cycle a Troll into the graveyard, we can just put it back on top, throw it to our opponent's face, do 6 damage that way. Nice and easy, end the game. Is there anything to you change play draw dependent in this sideboard?
No, not really. I think that's typically for matchups where one player can, be the aggressor when they're on the play, but everything changes when they're on the draw. Like for example, if you're playing against a deck with Bowmasters and your deck has X1 creatures like Ragavan in it, then you may have a different plan on the play when Ragavan is most likely to hit because they don't have a way to interact with it, and then on turn 2, you already have your second land before your opponent does. Maybe you're going to hold a counter spell. So it's a very different game, and the play patterns are very different than when you're on the draw. Your opponent has a second land when you just played a Ragavan, so before you untap, they can already play Bowmasters and the Ragavan dies. These are the matchups where typically things can change, whether you're based on whether you're on the play or on the draw, and sometimes you're more aggressive or more defensive based on that.
All right, well, let's get back down to the game. I'm slowly holding on to the last little dregs of my voice that I do have. So I'm going to remind you all at home that 929 players turned up today, battling it out in 9 rounds of Modern action today. We got 2 more after this, and hopefully they can get themselves 18 points or better to get re-invited back to play tomorrow to battle it out to try and get into our top 8, where, of course, 2 players will win themselves World Championship invites. 24 players, they're going to get themselves Pro Tour invites, and top 64 are going to gain their share of a $100,000 prize pool. Well, when we look at openers, looks like we might have a keep over on the Dredge side. Interesting. I still see Darkblast in the deck. Not entirely sure that one's got too many good targets, but especially in open deck list, any X1s? Doesn't look like it.
I mean, there's a lot of undefeated players because we had almost 1,000 players. So, yeah, we're gonna be able to pick some cool matches in the upcoming round. Still,
we're getting to that stage now, right, where some people are starting to lock themselves into day 2 already. They're just trying to give themselves the best possible shot in day 2. Being able to calculate the most points possible. If you can end today 9-0. You give yourself the best possible chance of getting into the top 8 tomorrow, or at least into the top 24.
Some people are asking in the chat, if you're 6-0, you just take 3 draws in the next 3 rounds. Like, do people do that? Because that gets you to 21 points. So it is something you can do. But it doesn't make a lot of sense because you're also just aiming to make the top 8. You're aiming to make the top 24, for which taking 3 draws instead of playing the three turns doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
I'm taking a mulligan here on Dylan's side. In my own head when I'm talking, I'm sounding like Henry Cavill in The Witcher right now. I really hope I'm coming across like that, chat. Not just some lame duck. Of course, no Gemstone Caverns going to be able to be deployed here from Rao on the left of your screen, as they will be on the play. And that's scary. Playing against Dredge while they're on the play and they kept 7. I think we got a keeper just deciding which one we want to pitch to the bottom of our deck.
Yeah, I think Dylan is really incentivized to really try to mulligan aggressively to find that Void Walker if he doesn't really have anything else. And actually, he decides to mulligan again. I think that makes sense. Like, if you only have very few cards that do something against your opponent's deck, I think you should try to find them, because if you don't, then, well, we saw what happened with Dredge in the first game.
We've also seen how powerful it can be, right? Like, game 2 was literally one off the back of me getting another Dolphy Voidwalker into play. It was like, oh, I can't beat it. Cool. Scoop. Everyone's just going to finish up shuffling. See, like, we've seen more shuffling in this game than we've actually seen gameplay. Okay. Can we find 2 land at Dalphy? I believe that's exactly what we're looking for in this. Not sure if this is a keep or not. Round the left of your screen, ready to go, itching to go. Look, it's like I'm on the play. I've kept my 7. Watching his opponent just mull more and more and more. Looks like we've got to keep on 5. Maybe not. We've got 2 more cards to pit back. These 2 are going to go to the bottom. Yes, they are, and we are off to the races at game number 3. Starting off with just a fetch land. Arid Mesa. Verdant Catacombs on the other side. Pass go. Crack it end of turn. Are we going to see a Otherworldly Gaze? Or just a tap land? Just a tap land. Blood Crypt's going to come into play. 2 life not paid. More shuffling.
Welcome to Modern. Fetch, pass, fetch, pass. Luckily, Sensei's Divining Top is not legal in the format anymore. That's a cool card in theory, and it was a cool card. I played it at in Standard at Nationals with Counterbalance. That was a really fun deck. But yeah, in practice, when you top every turn and you spend all the time just looking at the top 3 cards of your library, your opponent's just sitting there. It's not a good experience.
Okay, another fetch land. It's going to find that second mana source, and this is key for Dredge. 2's kind of the sweet spot. That's where we can start casting things like our Cathartic Reunion and our Thrilling Discovery. Kind of one of the upgrades that we got a little while ago in Strixhaven. Which one of these 2 are going to get deployed this turn?
What do you think Modern would look like if fetch lands suddenly were not legal in the format?
Like a slightly more powerful Pioneer. I feel like you'd get restricted a little bit more in your deck building choices, right?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be that easy to play, 4 or 5 color decks. But I think maybe the mana basis, maybe you still have, all these lens like, I don't know what's legal, Gemstone Mine, or something else that you can still make a 5 color or 4 color deck work.
Cathartic Reunion. That's going to discard a Stinkweed Imp. That's going to be our first dredge of 5. We find another one, so we get to dredge another 5. Here comes another couple. Ox is going to be one of them. And then our last dredger is going to be this Darkblast for 3. So, 1 Narcomoeba. Don't think we hit any Prized Amalgams there. 2 mana, 1/1 flyer. Let's go. We just went about it the long way there instead of actually hard casting it. Fetch up our Triumph end of turn. Something that we've become used to seeing in these the main decks. How many copies we got? We've got 3 Triumphs floating around in this one.
we really are spending most of the time just shuffling the cards.
Yes, we are.
Or counting cards off of the top of the deck. All right, let's hope Dylan has something here he can play. That's another 2 fetch lands. So maybe a Territorial Kavu or something to really start, putting some pressure on Raul. That's exactly what Dylan needs, but unfortunately for him, looks like he's just passing the turn, and that's exactly what Raul wants to hear. He actually draws a card, so nothing he can dredge there.
Yeah, Darkblast was the last dredger that he could, and obviously the card he drew is one of the ones he wished was in the graveyard last turn, a Prized Amalgam.
There's an Ox.
Yeah, this is going to be another way of not only filling up our graveyard, but adding a lot to the board if we can find some good hits here. So, discard our hand. We know that's going to fit 3 dredges in, plus this Prized Amalgam. First dredge. It's going to be for 5, this Stinkweed Imp. Finds a couple of Thugs and Darkblast, nothing else. Second Stinkweed Imp. Another 5. Another Thug.
All right, there's at least a Creeping Chill. There's the 3/1 Zombie. So that's going to be able to
come back because we're going to gain 3 life this turn.
Yeah, get freely into play.
Silversmote Ghoul is the 3/1 that you're talking about there. Bug is going to be our last one. That's going to do 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think that's a Prized Amalgam and a Narcomoeba. It's a great last hit for the end. So triggers are going to start happening. 3 life to your face. I'm going to gain 3 life, which is going to be important for that Ghoul. Now my Narcomoeba is going to come into the battlefield. That's going to trigger my Prized Amalgams for the end of turn. I'm going to go to combat and attack you for 1. Now, how much damage is going to be on the battlefield? I think we add another 9 power to the battlefield at the end of this turn.
Yeah, look at the graveyard. I think the graveyard is bigger than the library at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if Raul is able to just mill the rest of his library next turn.
Dredge 101.
All right, that's the Ghoul coming into play thanks to the life drain. There's another
double
Ghoul.
12 damage going to enter the battlefield. Power going to enter the battlefield.
And also double Amalgam. Thank you very much. Well, we know Dylan doesn't really have any sweepers.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm like, do we have anything at all? Any Anger the God type effects? Doesn't look like we do. This could be a really quick game 3.
Yeah, great draw by the Dredge player, and you know, if you get to execute your game plan without your opponent interacting with you at all. Obviously, Dylan took 2 mulligans. Obviously, that's not great. He was looking for the sideboard cards against Raul's graveyard. Unfortunately, hasn't found it, and that is
that's it.
second loss for Dylan.
Dredge
Raul
going to 6-1 though.
really
Let's
cool.
go. Well, we've got a backup feature match for you all, so let's see if we move across to that now.